To move this process a little faster, we're going to go into our polygons palette and we're going to select our normal maps. We're going to lock our UVs once we've selected our mesh. Lock them. And then we're going to hit soften edge or harden edge. It's up to you. I like to go with soften edge, so that's what my character already has set to him. In the high quality, it kind of takes away from the computation of the computer, so we're going to turn that off because we don't really need it when we start adding the rig underneath the skeleton or animations palette. We also don't need the color maps, so we'll turn those off. We want to make sure that our bones are easily seen when we go to apply them. We're going to pull open or drop down our skeleton, and then we're going to go to human IK, and I'm going to pull this over for you. Hit the skeleton generator. Now typically this will probably show up either larger or smaller than the character. I actually made the character a bit larger, brought him up to where he would fit kind of right above the plane. Then this little menu pops up over here. This is part of the UI that kind of gives you control of how the actual rig will look. This character doesn't have any fingers, so we don't have to worry about adding these. We can actually take them off. Typically this comes in default. We can scale up or down our complete rig. So now you see kind of how the whole thing actually works. We'll move these around. We can probably stick with the spine count at 4, even though I'd like to take it up. I'm not too worried about it. The foot, we don't necessarily need this right here, but we're going to leave it in there anyway because you can actually put a foot roll to it, which is really nice whenever you have a character that has a little bit more moving parts or walks, and it actually looks good. The hip translation is a really cool addition to this particular generator. Things like the toes, you can actually see them all pop out there. But mainly you're creating your rig, and with a click of a button instead of having to go through and doing it manually. But a couple things I want to show you before we move on and go through the whole process of doing this before we lock it and then create our control rig, which is something we're going to need for our animation and mocap retargeting, is when we try to move these bones, if you notice our root here kind of moved, and that's not what we want. So we're going to hit Command Z and go back, and some way to do that on the Mac is you hold the D button down, and if you do that, notice that the center root, the root does not move at all. That's what we want. We can right click the bone structure, go down to select hierarchy, and it selects the whole thing. We're going to move it over by hitting hold the D down or insert key on the PC. And we'll kind of want to, and we can actually view this from the different angles, like say from the front or whatever. I'm going to kind of like base everything off of where it lies now. It actually is pretty good. We don't need too much change in this particular character. Everything's, for the most part, looks pretty good. But you kind of get the general idea that we're trying to move these joints around to fit and adhere to the actual model itself. One thing to also note is that this has a mirror feature, so if we want to select our bones, we can select our hierarchy, go up here, make sure we save our edits, we'll go back into it, and we can mirror. And Maya actually mirrors from left to right, so we just want to take the left leg and mirror it to the right side, and you'll see as this particular tool becomes very useful when you need to save time, and puts that exactly in the same spot the other side is in. And if you notice, none of the roots are messed up. Everything is straight on, which is what we want with a nice rig. We'll go through the whole process of doing the rest of it on our own time. I'll finish mine up, and then we'll lock our character so that we can work on using the characterization tool and create a control rig. And we'll do that in the next video.